Hey y'all, good morning, afternoon, or evening. We are here to do the new book releases for the week of July 24th. I'm Morgan. For those of you who are new here, every Monday I do the new book releases of the week to go over all the different genres, well, most of the different genres. There will be timestamps, and I hope you enjoy, find something awesome that you want to read, and will subscribe and come back for more. Let's go ahead and get into the books. This week we're doing different. We will start out with YA. We got YA fantasy, YA thrillers, lots of things. But the first one is kind of a sequel. It is a sequel. Okay, I don't know why I say kind of. It's a sequel. It's House of Roots and Ruin by Erin A. Craig. This one is set 12 years after the House of Salt and Sorrows. The House of Roots and Ruin brings readers back to Arcania and the lives of the remaining Trauma sisters. This time following youngest sister, Verity. Infused with all the haunting gothic elements of the first volume, this is a mesmerizing return to a decadent world full of darkness. So that's just like the blurb about the book. I'm not going to read the description since it is a sequel. I think that I did a good job just getting that part. From what I remember, the House of Salt and Sorrows is about 12 sisters. I think that's a retelling in itself. But they receive curses, and I think some of them die and some of them fight against it. I haven't read that one. I've heard people talk about it vaguely in the past. The next one, though, is a YA fantasy that I have kind of heard about, and I have thoughts about possibly we might be seeing this one in one of the book boxes, maybe. And that is The Bonesmith, nope, just Bonesmith, by Nikki Powell-Peretto. It's described as Gideon the Ninth meets the Game of Thrones White Walkers. Ready your blade to defeat the undead. In the Dominions, the dead linger, violent and unpredictable, unless a bonesmith severs the ghost from its earthly remains. For Bonesmith Wren, becoming a Valkyrie? Is it Valkyrie? A ghost-fighting warrior is a chance to solidify her place in the noble house of Bone and impress her frequently absent father. But when sabotage causes Wren to fail her qualifying trial, she is banished to the border wall, the last line of defense against a wasteland called the Breach, where the vicious dead roam unchecked. Determined to reclaim her family's respect, Wren gets her chance when a House of Gold prince is kidnapped and taken beyond the wall. To prove she has what it takes to be a Valkyr, Wren vows to cross the breach and rescue the prince. But to do so, she's forced into an uneasy alliance with one of the kidnappers, a fierce ironsmith called Julian from the exiled House of Iron, the very people who caused the breach in the first place, and the House of Bones' sworn enemy. As they travel, Wren and Julian spend as much time fighting each other as they do the undead, but when they discover there's more behind the kidnapping than either of them knew, they'll need to work together to combat the real danger, a dark alliance that is brewing between the living and the undead. So it has so many aspects for good potential, I feel like. So many aspects. Then our YA thrillers. One of Us is Back by Karen M. McManus. This is the third installment in the thriller series. This started with One of Us is Lying. So I believe it brings our main characters back to the town where they were accused of killing somebody after detention. I have not read this series. I don't know. Our next one, though, is Their Vicious Games by Jolene Willington. You must work twice as hard to get half as much. Adina Walker has known this her entire time she's been on scholarship at the prestigious Edgewater Academy, a school for the rich and mostly white upper class of New England. It's why she works so hard to be perfect and above reproach. No matter what she must force beneath the surface, even one slip can cost you everything. And it does. One fight, one moment of lost control leaves Adina blacklisted from her top choice Ivy League college and any other. Her only chance to regain the future she sacrificed everything for is the finish, a high-stakes contest sponsored by Edgewater's founding family in which 12 young, ambitious women with exceptional promise are selected to compete in 3 mysterious events, the Ride, the Raid, and the Royale. The winner will be granted entry into the fold of the Remington family, whose wealth and power can open any door. But when she arrives at the finish, Adina quickly gets the feeling that something isn't quite right with both the Remingtons and her competition. And soon it becomes clear that this larger-than-life prize can only come at an even greater cost, because the finish's stakes aren't just make or break their life and death. Adina knows the deck is stacked against her. It always has been. So maybe the only way to survive their vicious games is for her to change the rules. And then from YA thriller into regular mystery thriller. It's called All Is Not Forgiven by Joe Kenda. So this guy was actually a detective, and then he went on to have a TV investigative series on like IDTV, investigative detective series, and now he's written a book. A fiction book though, not like a nonfiction about his things, but it's a fiction book where he's the main character, but it's fictionizing one of his famous cases from back then. It says, in the first novel, the rookie detective Kenda investigates a 1975 case that begins with the murder of a beloved Colorado philanthropist and society figure whose husband, a gambler and womanizer, appears to have an airtight alibi. Mentored by his veteran partner, Detective Lee Wilson, a former Nashville singer turned skilled investigator, Kenda's case quickly attracts the attention of the FBI, CIA, and Interpol for its similarity to a string of killings involving the wealthy married women. All murders appear to have been committed by a hired professional whose trademark is the use of an unusual form of lethal ammunition that leaves no trace. Though the reviews didn't sound great from the earlier reviewers, it also sounds, well, I mean, there was some good and some bad, but it just sounds different, kind of, and cutesy, and like, here's my ear, and like, I don't know, it just sounds cute, kind of. It's Mrs. Polanski's Revenge by Spencer Quinn. Mrs. Loretta Polanski, a recent widow in her 70s, is settling into retirement in Florida while dealing with her 98-year-old father and fielding requests for money from her beloved children and grandchildren. Thankfully, her new hip hasn't changed her killer tennis game one bit. One night, Mrs. Polanski is startled awake by a phone call from a voice claiming to be her grandson Will, who desperately needs $10,000 to get out of a jam. Of course, Loretta obliges. After all, what are grandmothers for? Even grandmothers who still haven't gotten a simple thank you for a gift sent weeks ago. Not that she's counting. By morning, Mrs. Polanski has lost everything. Law enforcement announces that Loretta's life savings have vanished and that it's hopeless to find the scammers behind the heist. First humiliated and then furious, Loretta Polanski refuses to be just another victim. In a courageous bid for justice, Mrs. Polanski follows her only clue on a whirlwind adventure to a small village in Romania to get her money and her dignity back, and perhaps find a new lease on life too. So see, I mean, it's got the aspects of, I don't know, I say cute, but maybe it's not cute. Then we will segue, though, into literary fiction with The Weaver and the Witch Queen by Genevieve Gornichek. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be connected or in the same world. I mean, it's kind of our world, but, you know, in the past, of The Witch's Heart, but that is her other novel, and so I don't particularly know if they are connected or not. Odiny and Gernhild meet as children in the 10th century Norway, and they could not be more different. Odiny hopes for a quiet life, while Gernhild burns for power and longs to escape her cruel mother. But after a visiting wise woman makes an ominous prophecy that involves Odiny and her sister Signy and Gernhild, the three girls take a blood oath to help one another always. When Odiny's farm is destroyed and Signy is kidnapped by Viking raiders, Odiny is set adrift from the life she imagined. But she's determined to save her sister no matter the cost, even as she finds herself irresistibly drawn to one of the raiders who participated in the attack. And in the far north, Gernhild, who fled her home years ago to learn the ways of the witch, is surprised to find her destiny seems to be linked with that of the formidable King Eric, heir apparent to the ruler of Norway. But the bonds, both enchanted and emotional, that hold the two women together are strong, and when they find their way back to each other, these bonds will be tested in ways they never could have foreseen in the deeply moving novel of magic, history, and sworn sisterhood. Hard to read some of that, and I don't know why. It's all English. Our other literary fiction is The Little Village of Book Lovers by Nina George. This one is connected to her book, The Little Paris Bookshop. In a little town in south of France in 1960s, a dazzling encounter with love itself changes the life of an infant orphan, Marie-Jeanne, forever. As a girl, Marie-Jeanne realizes that she can see the marks love has left on the people around her. Tiny glowing lights on the faces and hands that shimmer more brightly when the one meant for them is near. Before long, Marie-Jeanne is playing matchmaker, bringing true love together in her village. As she grows up, Marie-Jeanne helps her foster father, Francis, begin a mobile library that travels throughout the many small mountain towns in the region of Nayans. She finds herself bringing soulmates together in every place they go, and there are always books that play a pivotal role in that quest. However, the only person that Marie-Jean can't seem to find a soulmate for is herself. She has no glow of her own, though she waits and waits for it to appear. Everyone must have a soulmate, surely, but will Marie-Jean be able to recognize hers when love finally comes her way? It says literary fiction, but it does sound adorable. I don't know though, probably. I don't know. Me and literary fiction just don't work mostly. Now though, for fantasy. The first one is going to be Lightbringer from the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown. This one is number 7 in that series, where it starts all the way back at Red Rising. This is though from the second part of the trilogy. Well, no, it is book 7, right? Yeah, okay. But the books follow Darrow, who is a red on Mars as they are trying to mine this very essential item to terraform Mars and the rest of the solar system for life to be able to, move off of Earth. And he kind of moves into this radicalized group after his wife is martyred and finds out everything he knows is a lie. And he wants to bring down the system. That's, the first book, Red Rising. And then we move forward as things just keep expanding and growing. And I have not made it past the first book yet, but I really want to. I think next month. So we are continuing though. I know this was highly anticipated by so many people. So many people. I think somewhere in there must be, well, time has passed. I don't think there's going to be a time jump, but time has just been passing, through the series. So we're going to probably have a more adult Darrow here. Whereas in that one, he's like 16 to 18 in Red Rising is where we start. Next, we have The Sun in the Void by Gabriela Romero Lacours. This one has somewhat mixed reviews. A lot of them are like loving, and then some are not liking the main characters. So take that as you will. I think that the description sounds good. Rena is desperate. Stuck on the edge of society, Rena's only hope lies in an invitation from her grandmother she's never met. But the journey to her is dangerous, and a prayer can't always avert disaster. Attacked by creatures that stalk the mountains, Rena is on the verge of death until her grandmother, a dark sorceress, intervenes. Now dependent on the Donna's magic for her life, Rena will do anything to earn and keep her favor, even the bidding of an ancient god who whispers to her at night. Eva Casera is unwanted. Illegitimate and of mixed heritage, Eva is her family's shame. She tries to be the perfect daughter, but Eva is hiding a secret. Magic calls to her. Eva knows she should fight the temptation. Magic is the sign of the dark god. Using it is punishable by death. Yet it's hard to ignore power when it has always been denied you. Eva is walking a dangerous path, and in the end, she'll become something she never imagined. Why do I feel like I've read a separate description somewhere too? Because that was not the one that drew me in. I don't know anymore. Okay, I'm sorry. There's another description out there. Maybe I'll find it and clip it. I don't know. Or I'll cut all this out. I don't know. It's part of the War and God series though. It's the first book in the War and God series. And then we have Griffin in Light by Mercedes Lackey and Larry Dixit. This is going back to the world of Valdemar that I think all of her books are set in, but it's going to be the first book in a new trilogy, but it is about the tales of the Griffins, so I guess none of them have been about the Griffins. I have not read any of these. It says, on the border between Valdemar and the deadly Pelagius forest, the Griffin hero Kelvin returns from a near-fatal self-sacrifice that won him the approval of Valdemar's ground troops, but caused a diplomatic crisis. Frustrated by his lack of a hero's welcome, Kelvin is talked into helping with an expedition by his old friend Firesong. Firesong struggles with his own age and morality, and he intends to solve a vast mystery at the center of the legendary Lake Ivendell as his crowning achievement. But just getting to the multicultural fleet underway is a challenge. I think something went wrong with that sentence that I said. But what awaits them is a situation none of them could expect. Set in the beloved fantasy realm of Valdemar, Griffin in Light is adventurous epic fantasy at its best. There are so many books in her world there. I think they're mostly broken up into trilogies, which I've heard you can start on like any of them. I don't know. And now into fantasy romance, with the first being Game of Gods by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the third book in the Hades and Persephone series from Hades' perspective. It is weird in the description of this one, as it said it is the conclusion to the trilogy, when we all know that the fourth book is coming out earlier this year. Well, the fourth book from Persephone's point of view is coming out later this year. And since she's been going back and forth, Probably she'll put the 4th book out in Hades' perspective, you know, next year or something. Why did they even bother to call it a trilogy? Unless they're only going to do the first 3 books from Hades, which is weird. I don't know. And then we have The Rebel King by Gina L. Maxwell. These are a series of standalones. So like they're kind of in a series, but yet each one focuses on a different king or court. Yeah, I think she did Queens before as part of the series, and then now we're doing the Kings series. It just sounds, you know, maybe interesting. I don't know, I haven't read any of her books, so I would have to check them out. They're a spicy kind of fantasy romance. Of all the Varan brothers, Tyrion is the least suited to wear the crown, the Night Court crown. The rebel prince is happy with no responsibilities or accountability, just the freedom to pursue his own dark, lush pleasures in Sin City, including his secret hunger for a certain smart-mouthed, fiery redhead. I can't talk anymore. Only the possibility of having Fiona is stripped away when Tyrion is thrust into the one role he never wanted, king. As king of the Dark Fae, wanting, let alone pursuing anything with a lower caste Fae like Fiona would shift from fun to forbidden. Now war is emerging from the shadows of Vegas, and Tyrion is caught between who he's meant to be and who he wants. And somewhere in the maelstrom of lust, love, and rebellion is the key to the Dark Fae's survival, even if the cost is more than he can imagine. Alright, Sin City and Vegas. Does this take place in our world? Like beside our world or something? Or like a different version of our world? Because, like what? Somebody who's read her, let me know. And our last book of the week is a sci-fi. This is Emergent Properties by Amy Odogen. This is a short story. I did not know that going in. I thought it was a book. I didn't know it was a short story. This one follows a state-of-the-art AI with the talent for asking questions and finding answers. Scorn is nevertheless a parental disappointment. Defying the expectations of their human mothers, CEOs of the world's most powerful corporations, Scorn has made a life of their own as an investigative reporter, crisscrossing the globe in pursuit of the truth, no matter the danger. In the middle of investigating a story on the moon, Scorn comes back online to discover Z has no memory of the past 10 days and no idea what story Z was even chasing. Letting it go is not an option, not if Z wants to prove themselves. Scorn must retrace Z's steps in a harrowing journey to uncover an even more explosive truth than Z could have ever imagined. That's all the books for this week. Hopefully you found something intriguing, exciting that you want to go pick up or put on a TBR pile, TBR list. And maybe you enjoyed this video in my style and you'll want to check out some of my other videos like this unboxing or the review. And if you do, please subscribe and that way you can come back for future videos of all of them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having an awesome day and finding something great to read. Bye y'all.